Cheesehead TV. The audience has 3 to about 6 or 7.
It's not about what you're capable of. It's about what you're willing to do.
Young Aaron Nagler have wanted a Raven to ride his bike.
100%, absolutely. But I will say, props to Arm because he owns it, right? He's a diehard, and he is like completely in his feelings for why he doesn't want a Raven touching his bike.
Now, please welcome from Cheesehead TV, Aaron Nagler and Bill Schmid.
Carry the G Radio on this fine Tuesday afternoon. Aaron Nagler coming to you live from New York City. Billy holding it down there at the iHeart Metroplex in the greater Milwaukee area. Bill Schmid, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Nags. How you doing? This is like the crossover of the full playoff rivalry that we could get here today, right? We're going from almost Flushing Meadows, New York. Is that right? Flushing Meadows?
That's correct, sir. I'm right here.
To Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I mean, that's a heck of a day that it's Brewers and Mets all over the place.
I've been wearing my Brewers shirt loud and proud, all about Queens this morning / afternoon, getting some looks, getting some love. It's been great.
I love that. I love that.
I mean, the Mets fans, they know they have no business being here, so they're just happy. They're just happy they're in the playoffs. Now,
Mets fans would seem to me to be like how I grew up thinking Lions fans would be. Just like it's got to be a miserable existence. Yeah, right. It's got to be a brutal situation to every single year. The only thing I think of as Mets fans is there's a Family Guy skit where Stewie is sitting there going, so far Halloween's almost as disappointing as being a Mets fan, and then it cuts to him at the game and goes, and the first pitch of the season and the season's over. Dang it. So that's the only way that I think about Mets baseball. So listen, that's the miserable in New York. Sadly, we're all only a little bit miserable because we get to be boosted here by some playoffs after what happened at Lambeau just a couple of days ago.
You want to talk about misery. I'm going to wrap this Brewers chat up real quick because earlier this morning I got a text from my oldest daughter talking about how she and her sisters went to one Mets game this summer, and that is the reason the Mets are having success. And I said, they play the Brewers in the playoffs. And instantly her inner New Yorker kicked in, and she told me to F off and said, New York forever. So we are a house divided. We are a house divided for this series. Absolutely love it. But to your point, it's good to have a playoff baseball game to look forward to this afternoon after spending 24 hours licking the wounds of what started as a good old-fashioned butt kicking by the Minnesota Vikings, but we did see some fight from our boys. We did see some fight there in the second half. Can't completely discount the effort, everything that transpired to get them at least in a position where a onside kick would have maybe helped them win the game. But it was not to be. Dug too deep a hole. But I think the most important aspect of this football game, and I haven't really heard it talked about a whole lot. I heard you bring it up very briefly on Monday morning on 9 to noon. The gold package showed out. And I understand you had some misgivings about the amount of purple in the stands. But that is just life in the NFL now. Like when you are having success like the Vikings are, especially a divisional game, the way the secondary market is set up, you're going to see opponents in the stands. You're going to see a ton of Packers fans in LA next week.
Oh, a ton.
It's going to be a Packers home game in LA next week.
It will be.
You know what I mean? So that's just the price of doing business. I thought the gold package was awesome. And that's the thing I don't really get a feel of until after the game because I go back and watch the broadcast. I see some of the videos that we do at Cheesehead TV with the fans coming out after the game. But yeah, I thought the gold package showed out. And I know I've been a harsh critic of said gold package, but your boys showed up, Billy. Your boys showed up.
That is awesome because that is the best thing that I could have heard. It was not what I anticipated you were going to go with here. But John Kuhn did say, he's like, it was a gold package crowd from this standpoint. It was loud. He goes, they were up. They were having fun. He goes, now, if you want to sit for a game, you don't want to go to a gold package game. And I may have heard that from my mother yesterday well, as there were some individuals that were standing around her that they didn't sit down the entire day. I mean, like, it was just ridiculous.
No. That's your mom? Your mom's one of the sit down people?
Yeah, she was not mom. Very happy. But now it was a Viking fan that would not sit down in front of her. So that made it, that it was, he was just drinking way too much, and it was just not enjoyable for many people. And luckily his buddy, who was a Packers fan, said, "Hey, how about you just shut up?" And then luckily he did.
So wait a second. So your mom's upset about the standing and the drinking. How many football games does she go to?
Oh, not necessarily upset about the drinking, more embarrassed for said individual that she said, apparently he had his first beer at the Packers game and the Packers Viking game. And congratulations. Good day for you to have your first drink if you're a Viking fan, because you mentioned it, Nags. They played early. It was leaning towards old fashioned butt whooping. And when I was talking on Packers OT, I had used the term garbage time to feel like what the second half may have felt like. But there's 35 minutes of game time left. It's not appropriate enough. There was plenty of time for you to fight back into the game. They did that. And I think that's maybe you can go, is it more frustrating with the first half, more encouraging what you found from the second half? I think both can be true at the same time. There are plenty of parts of the first half that are concerning out of just week 4, right? Vikings offense looks legitimate. Their pass rush is very cohesive. Right.
Yes,
like I think
that's a great way to phrase it.
The way you watch it and you see this Blake Cashman cat who is just giving it up for everybody in purple. He gives Pat Jones that one sack where he barrels through Rasheed Walker and Elton Jenkins. Nobody can get out, and nor can Jordan Love. Like they're very it's almost synchronized as to how they rush that team. You're going to have to beat them. And the Packers didn't do enough early to give themselves a real chance into that second half.
What was most frustrating is the defense's complete inability to get off the field on third down, because that wasn't happening, but just keep them out of the end zone. I mean, if you're Matt LaFleur, you look at that first drive and you march right down the field, right? Now, a false start penalty, a drop, and you're settling for a field goal that you don't even make. Now, the next time you touch the ball, right, you are essentially down 14-0, and you're 8 plays into your opening 15-play script?
Yeah, halfway through.
You're already down 2 touchdowns. So I'm not saying you have to junk the game plan, but you are not where you wanted to be while you were executing your openers. Like that's a tough way to live. That is a very tough way to live, because I thought, especially in that opening drive, you certainly saw the ability to run the football, stay ahead of the sticks, which you got to do against Minnesota. But legit, I think third drive, they're down 21-0. All bets are off. And then Jordan throws that brutal interception. It's 28-0. And now you're in complete scramble trying to get back into the game mode. So it's hard to judge too much, to my eyes, with the offense in the first half, simply because the defense just didn't play anything resembling complimentary football.
Now, I would say, and this is where you see it week in and week out, and many times it's because the game gets away from you, where the inability to have any resemblance of what your game plan was going to be for that to be your offense into the second half. I do got to give Matt at least a little bit of credit. I think he wanted to and tried to again into the second half. And John talked about it on the radio broadcast right away. Like, please still try to run the football.
Yes.
Right. Like the only way you're going to get an honest look at this Viking defense, if you're trying to throw it, is to make them worry a little bit about the run. And you were able to move it on the ground a little bit, but it's difficult inherently so when, like you mentioned, it's the first quarter and it's 21-0 and Jordan Addison has 2 scores. Homie didn't even play in the first 3 games. And this guy's already scoring twice on us. Like it's difficult to not let the game get away from you, even though they had chances. And the biggest part of the frustration from the first half for me, Nags, not on the offensive side, is the 2 biggest problems in weeks 1 through 3 were the biggest problems in the first half.
100%.
Penalties and red zone efficiency. And that's got to clean up if you're going to be able to win these games in November and December.
And one of those feeds directly into the other. Matt LaFleur spent all last week talking about, or being asked about, the red zone inefficiency and how they haven't been very good down there. And he legit said twice, we got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot. And what happens? You get down there and your best offensive lineman false starts and puts you way behind the sticks. And you still could have scored if Wicks is able to hang on to the ball. Now, the placement wasn't great from Love, and I do think that's a component here, right? You can't kind of brush that aside. I mean, I get that Jordan Love looked rusty. He most certainly did. But, man, make a play for your quarterback. How many balls did we see where, they're a bit off, certainly going to take some effort to catch it, but, man, Your guy is coming back from a significant injury. Yes, he's throwing a little high, a little low, a little outside, whatever. You're professional wide receivers. You're in the National Football League. Make a play for your guy.
Yeah,
That's
both things.
To me, that was a little frustrating.
Yeah, both things can be true at the same time. Ball needs to be placed better in a perfect scenario. However, rarely are things perfect in the NFL. Like when you get two hands on the football, you got to be able to bring that in. And that one in the red zone could have been a touchdown. Like you think of the Wicks, the one to Wicks. There is so much green
Nothing but
to
grass.
his left.
Yep.
So there's a lot of, and I say this a lot, so sometimes it becomes coach speak coming out of my mouth, where the old saying that you hear on sidelines is, we got big plays coming, right? I think like Drew Bledsoe said it in Super Bowl 31, didn't work out very well because they didn't have that many big plays coming. But when you're right there and you feel the right looks, you're getting opportunities, you're just not capitalizing on it. It's very similar to the game that no one cares about this, but the high school team played on Friday night, where Nags, you're trying to come back and you get a couple of the things on the defensive side, defense balls out, and you're unable to make the biggest change, make the biggest play on offense to be able to capitalize on the good fortune that you're getting. That's the frustrating part, right? Where even into the second half, you started getting timely stops. You got a turnover. Not even off Jalen Naylor's face mask. You get the interception. You get a turnover on downs. You get the ball back with an opportunity to make it a one-possession game. You get it down to a one-possession game, and then you're unable to make the second play. When you're outlining it all in the script, usually the scoring is just we just prerequisite. We score touchdown. We score touchdown. We score touchdown. No problem. We just need the ball back 4 times.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, look. It's funny because I was talking about the lack of complementary football, right? And the defense giving up 3 touchdowns immediately. Obviously, not ideal. You hate to see it. It really is frustrating to watch. But I do give Hafley a bit of grace. If for no other reason than, Billy, you go in on Tuesday and put together your game plan. You get to Thursday and your star corner gets hurt in practice. And now you've got to change the said game plan and your call sheet, and your whole approach changes in 24 hours or 48 hours before the game, right? I don't use that as an excuse, but it is very obvious when you watch that game back how he's really stuck between a rock and a hard place, because he wants to send pressure. He does want on occasion to try and force the issue a little bit, but the Vikings do a great job. They are paid too, and they're playing pretty damn well, of adjusting and calling out the pressures and getting the protection set and essentially taking advantage of the Packers on the back end where they are down, a number of corners. So, but look, even in all of that, Hafley still had his moments. That pressure that got Nixon free for the strip sack fumble, just outstanding. Just an outstanding adjustment to show the double A gap mug, drop them out of there, bring that stunt with Gary to the middle, and then Nixon comes screaming free off the edge. That looked Charles Woodson-esque. That was hot.
Yeah, it was.
Didn't have enough of it, unfortunately, but that was
great.
Then
it's also then nice to be able to see Edgerrin Cooper being able to go and scoop that bad boy up, and he's Aaron Jones fingernail away from housing that bad boy and throwing that place into a complete frenzy.
If you look on the tape on the all 22, he flies from 20 yards away to scoop that bad boy up. I mean, you talk about blood in the water. You look like a shark ready to feast.
That was gotta have it now speed. It's awesome to be able to watch. And just a media starts with me thing. How much better is this new film program by NFL?
Oh, yes, sir.
How much better is the NFL Pro and the film room? Like you mentioned, you can go in, just look up. I want to watch Tucker Kraft annihilate people in the run game. Sweet. Tucker Kraft blocking, run play. Awesome. You see every single one of them.
Playlist for you. Yeah, it's pretty dope.
It's so much better than trying to go back through the alternate and then it hit rewind 10 seconds, then it bump you back to the beginning of the game.
Oh God, that was the worst.
So if people watching on YouTube and listening on 97.3 The Game are wondering like, wow, these guys really quickly are able to get that. Appreciate the NFL for finally figuring that out. Make content creators' lives a lot easier.
A lot easier. Though I will say it can also lead you down some depressing roads. Billy, if you're sitting there going, you know what, my life is too great. I'm too happy. I have to bring myself into check a little bit. I highly recommend putting up a Rashawn Gary playlist on your old all 22.
I was wondering who was going
NFL
to get
pro
that smoke.
there.
Yeah, I was wondering who was going to get that smoke, and it's probably the right one.
Baby, we got to have a talk.
Do we need to
discuss something here.
Yeah. Do we need to give ourselves a breather here before we get into the discussion?
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, because it's a robust conversation if we're going to get into the Rashawn Gary one next.
Yeah.
And it's one that I know a lot of people are going to want to have. 414-799-1973 is the talking text line, as well as the YouTube comments, because they're flying, right? They're already excited to fire in
the mix, no doubt.
Talking Jaden Reed and company. They're talking about the good things. We'll talk about maybe more of the frustrating one on the other side with Rashawn Gary.
It's going to be a frustrating one. There's no doubt. But we got a long way to go. First segment in the books. Much better than the Packers out of the gate on Sunday. I'll tell you that,
Definitely.
Billy. That's Bill Schmid. I'm Aaron Nagler holding it down here. Carry the G Radio. We're back right after this. Radio rolls on. Bill Schmid has changed studios. It's incredible. I never know where he's going to be. What's going on?
No,
You calling an audible over there, buddy?
Well, listen, instead of having this monstrous boom mic stand right in front of us and then me having to look over here, I had to do some tech changing in the break. Hopefully this is still working. Hopefully it still looks.
You look amazing.
I know you got to look at my
incredible.
nose now, which is a little bit more tough, but I apologize.
Amazing. No, this is great. This is great.
This is what happens when everybody else out having fun, right? Now, like this is playoff baseball time next. Right. So we got a bunch of people out at the park. We got a bunch of people fired up.
You got a skeleton crewing it.
Oh,
there on your
golly. Are you kidding me? The amount of people that are out on remote, the amount of people that are going to the bar, the amount of people that are going to the sports book. It's all good. It's all good in the neighborhood. We're living and breathing here.
But Billy, at the same time, I mean, you're getting paid to do this.
We get paid for this?
I mean, apparently. I mean,
it's a pretty stupid life, ain't it?
It is a stupid life.
I laugh about it all the time. I was talking about it with my folks, and as we make mention of and joke about, gold package forever. So there are a couple of Nags. There are a couple of moments there where Pops fires off like, man, wish you were here. Wish you could be over here. Wish you could be out here. And there are the moments there where you do miss hanging out, living throughout. But this life where we get to hang out, talk about the Green Bay Packers. Talk about it each and every day, and then do Packers OT right after the game. It's a pretty impressive deal.
And it helps pay our rent. What?
What? And it pays bills. Wild deal.
That's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. But what is not crazy? What is not crazy is some of the grousing and grumbling and maybe the hand wringing and frustration from Packers fans when it comes to one Rashawn Gary.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna have a discussion here, Billy.
Yeah.
Because look,
it's about time.
Because look. Sacks are not the be-all, end-all. Sacks, I'm fine. He's got, one sack on the season? Should have two if Preston Smith knows where to put his hand pre-snap. But not a ton of sacks. I'm not bothered by that. I got no issues with it. That is the game of football. The sacks will happen. Sacks will come. Sacks will flow.
Okay.
They come in bunches, as some
I've heard that before. Yep.
But, man, your job is to affect the quarterback. Your job is to exert pressure on said quarterback.
That's everyone's favorite word. That's everyone's favorite stat, Nags. Not sacks, pressures.
And look, we've seen instances where Gary has produced pressure. There was one last week against the Titans where he legitimately causes the quarterback to step up and out of the pocket, and that results in a sack from Lucas Van Ness. The problem is, I've seen maybe two other instances of something like that happening, and I have seen zero instances of Gary just beating a guy. I mean, he's getting blocked by tight ends in that Minnesota game. I hate to talk about a guy getting paid and then disappearing, but right now, Rashawn Gary's on a milk carton. Where is he?
He's out there. That's the thing. He's out there, right? Because otherwise, when he's not, then maybe you see 55 splash a little bit. And I think maybe that's where the more frustration can really exude, Nags, because you're seeing guys get off one-on-one blocks, right? You're seeing guys win one-on-one matchups, and you're not seeing him win enough. I thought to hear it was Halfley who gave the glowing praise on Kenny Clark, right? Where he's like, listen, fellas, we don't get 8 sacks if it's not for Kenny Clark, right? We don't get the amount of double teams that he's getting.
He's doing, right.
And I agree with him, right? Like you want to watch where the double team usually is on the Packers defensive line. It's going up against 97. And the pressure rates are beautiful and all that can be for the birds. If you're not getting home. And I thought Domofsky's stat that he tweeted out earlier from the ESPN research department, which I always appreciate. All
the learned tome of the ESPN research library. Yes.
The ESPN research department has said that affecting the quarterback, while Packers have pressured opposing quarterbacks 49 times, which is 6th most in football through 4 weeks, they're not moving the guy off the spot at all. They're 2.71 seconds inside the pocket, Nags, most by quarterbacks in the league. Over 3 seconds to throw the football, 2nd most in the league. And the pass rush win rate. Now, I don't exactly know how they judge this. PFF clearly know way more of football and way smarter than any of us watching. However,
slow down.
The pass rush win rate of 27.3, lowest in the league. My eye test says it because they're not winning enough one-on-ones. They're scheming some pressure up, right? We're scheming and finding openings across the middle generally on some stunt action for Lucas Van Ness to open up and capitalize. But they're not winning enough of these one-on-one matchups, and it's
hard to watch.
Very frustrating.
And especially in that game where you needed your front four because it had to fall upon your front four to win because you didn't want to expose a secondary that's beat up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm talking about when I give Hafley a little bit of grace, because I understand, look, I gotta make sure like I protect these guys, and I have to rush four on most of these, especially early in the game when the game is somewhat still in balance. It's just hard to watch. And it was funny. I was talking to Andy Herman on Monday in our weekly Let's Talk Football chat on the Cheesehead TV YouTube channel, where we essentially said the same thing, but with kind of different ways. Like, Andy's throwing out, like you were talking about, win percentage, and Gary has won by I can't even remember. It might be PFF, maybe ESPN, but somebody was like, he's won 3% of his pass rush win rate is at 3%. I simply said, he's not winning. If you are the premier pass rusher on an NFL football team, your job is to win in those situations. And there have been plenty of instances where they have schemed things up specifically to get him a one-on-one opportunity, and he's just not winning. And I don't know if it's because of what's being asked in a certain situation, as far as Matt did indicate yesterday. Like, there are certainly times when they have sacrificed things along the perimeter with those edge rushers to try to contain the pocket and things like that. But man, there are plenty of opportunities on, like, say, a 3rd and 10 when you are pinning your ears back against a Sam Darnold. You're not worried about him escaping outside the pocket and making something happen with his legs. Get after the quarterback, win your one-on-one. And right now, I mean, it is kind of the whole front four, but specifically Rashawn Gary, I mean, he has just been absent, and it is a problem now. I mean, 4 games in, it's not just, it's this one game or this one opponent. It's every week. That has got to change. He has got to do something and start winning these one-on-ones, or it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard way to live throughout 2024.
It will be interesting, though, Nags, and this is where a little bit of my cautious optimism comes with Rashawn, and why we've seen him start slow before, right? Like, now, last year he's coming off the ACL, and it's much easier to realize and point out, well, the guy's going to get better, right? Like, he's going to get more comfortable. He's going to understand it more.
But last year and then tailed off.
Yeah, and then
the opposite of what you'd expect coming off an injury.
The fascinating thing is, though, in how many different games he had 2-3 sack games and finishes with 9 on the year. So, like, to say they come in bunches, a lot of times they come in one game for Rashawn Gary. So, like, that's where when you're paying this kind of cash, you do anticipate that it is consistent. At least every other game, you're finding a way to get home. Every other game, you're finding a way to get 7 or 8 pressures that lead to 1 or 2 sacks, the splash play coming through. I mean, there's 2 games last year that he takes over, Detroit and New England. Otherwise, there are plenty of other times when you could, New Orleans, where you can think, still kind of been rolling on the milk carton.
Man, it's a desert at points with Rashawn. And then there is an oasis where he does find a tackle that he can take advantage of, and he does have a big game. But man, he is supposed to be your premier edge rusher. And right now, he can't beat a tight end.
Yeah, and it then also on the injury front makes me more concerned. Now, I'm going to preface this because I'm glad that it is as much of an issue, seemingly, at this point. Love the way Devontae Wyatt has played. I mean, like, the way he is playing so far this year is outstanding. Where him going out with the high ankle sprain, I'm more concerned about, because he's been their most consistent guy up front to be able to win the one-on-one and take advantage of Kenny Clark having a double team in front of him.
Yep, 100%. And the fact that we haven't really got an update on Wyatt is concerning. Like, I would think we'd get some kind of indication through reporting by this point, right? The fact that that's kind of been all quiet on the front. Now we've gotten good news on Christian Watson, which is great. But man, it's tough. It's real tough to sit there and watch Wyatt go off and head to the locker room.
We also could have gotten one consistent. Could we have gotten him a cart?
A cart, right?
Gee, sweet Lord, my man is walking over here, can barely move, and we have him limping off the field. Get the guy a ride. Come on. You gotta be quicker on that, Nags.
Can I just address something in the chat here? Because I love these
absolutely.
Comments. We got Brad on the YouTube on the final YouTube chat right there. It says,
What's up, Brad?
You fan how you want to fan. If it makes you feel good to be so negative about the players, I prefer to be optimistic and think this is growing pains in a new defense.
Hey, let's go, Brad. That's my guy right here. Let's be optimistic, Brad.
Up,
Come
Brad?
on. Tell
What's
this
up, Brad?
downer to be a little excited about his Green Bay Packers.
I mean, my track record is long and storied, and there's an entendre there I could make, but I'm not going to. Brad, I am nothing but positive, buddy. I carry the G 365 days a year. That doesn't change the tape. And that doesn't change what's on display.
Dangerous day
for everybody to see. Man, look, hey, I will stop being negative when there are negative plays not being placed on tape.
Yeah. You think that's negative, Brad?
I'm not making this up.
Cut Kenny Fatty Clark too. He's cooked. That's negative.
See,
that's stupid.
That's negative.
Brad,
see,
that's the stupidness.
See, Brad, that's
people
the stuff
think you should then be getting if you're going to be a little bit critical. It's not negative. It's finding ways and avenues that this team can get better. Because Nags, as tough as it sounds, and as much as excited as we are, and as good as I think this football team truly is,
right?
They're 2-2. Right. So like you do need to find some more wins, and you have to be able to capitalize on some of those with a situation that you're going to go out to Los Angeles here this week. This would be a time to be able to win a couple of one-on-one matchups if you're Rashawn Gary, because you're going to get a couple against guys that generally aren't in there. Now, Rob Havenstein, former Badger, many people are going to go crazy to be able to see a couple of Wisconsin Badgers on an offensive line for the LA Rams. But Havenstein's the only normal starter on the outside, as Ulrich Jackson, your boy Ulrich Jackson.
Why is he my boy?
Jaron Christian going to be the starting left tackles. Because
so what you're saying is they have like
Joe
Madden create a player starting at left tackle.
Yeah, they threw in the guys that had to get subbed in on the college football 25 list because the starting left tackle and the backup left tackle may have not signed their deal to get their $300. So they had to create one of these players with no similar name, image, or likeness.
Well, see, that's the thing too. It's like when Packers fans inevitably complain about injuries. It's like, man, have you looked around the league?
Everyone's really dinged up.
Teams are already like putting bandaged lineups together to try and get through a game. It's like we lost our quarterback for 2 games, won both of them, and got him back on the field. Now, would have liked him to come out a little hotter there against the Vikings, but I suspect we're going to see a much sharper Jordan Love out in LA. And I'm hoping, obviously those guys like to run on the carpet. They like to get going and hopefully a little crisper in the route running and get that offense humming a little bit more than we saw out of the gate against the Vikings. But man, you like Matt always talks about, no one cares. When you're talking about injuries, no one's going to throw you a pity party. No one's going to send flowers. Like, no one cares. You got to win your games. Win your games with who you got.
Yeah.
Hopefully they get Jair back too. So we'll see.
Or Carrington Valentine, right? Like, I mean, see one of them. Get one of those 2 guys back would be a very, very nice thing to have. I like John in Florida. I'm assuming this is. I get berated for questioning Love's 20 inconsistent starts into his career, and now you're bragging about being realistic, huh, John? Realistic and negative are 2 very different things. And don't bring the realistic word in here. That is my least favorite word when you talk about sports conversation. I'm just being a realist. No, you're saying why they're going to lose. That's generally what it means.
No, John is also referencing something I said on Daily yesterday when he got about Jordan Love's that kind of game, I think was his phrasing about, Jordan Love he's had this kind of game way too much, blah, blah, blah. And he's not sold on Jordan Love. All I said to John yesterday was, he's your quarterback. I don't care if you're sold on him. He's the starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers for the foreseeable future. So if you want to check out while Jordan's the starter, that's on you, dude. But Jordan Love's your starting quarterback. You should get behind him. That's all I'm saying.
See, now I'm glad that we brought this back from Daily on to Carry the G Radio.
It's all a rolling thread, a rolling narrative here with recurring characters, Billy. That's how we roll.
Come on now. This is an episodic television show about our favorite football team.
Some HBO drama up in here.
That's what I love doing the show, because now I get caught up. Now it's like when otherwise you used to grab your soap opera digest And then I actually never
Wow,
would buy it.
what a
I would just take it
pull.
right into the bathroom and then, read to make sure that I knew what was happening on all my
Gotta
children.
make sure you know what's up. My youngest daughter, Olive, has
We're young and
discovered
restless here, Nags.
she has discovered General Hospital and is literally watching General Hospital from the start. Like, what? Who does this?
I didn't
She
even
just
know
finished ER. She
Dude, I
watched
didn't even
all
know
of
they were-
ER.
They were recording those shows back then? I mean, when
They're
did
all
General Hospital
available for
start?
streaming. I don't know, 100
30-something years ago?
Like 60 years ago or something.
Oh, my God.
She's watching all of them.
Cliffhanger Friday is going to have her absolutely in a tizzy.
In a blender.
I'll tell you, when I would stay home and Grandma would have Cliffhanger Friday on, all my children, Young and the Restless, it end with General Hospital.
Oh, that's
I had
so
no
good.
clue where Luke and Laura were heading after that. I mean, it was your guess as good as mine.
Well, I mean,
as
it
to what
could
was
be
gonna happen
anywhere.
next. Could be happening next. What I do know next, we're going to talk more Green Bay Packers. We might start looking forward, Nags, but there's still a lot more in their rear view for us to be able to parse through and sort through. Packers are 2-2. They lose the Minnesota Vikings, but we're positive. We're optimistic because we carry the G like nobody's business. Aaron Nagler and Billy Schmid carry the G radio on the game and YouTube.
ourselves Californication.
Carry the G Radio coming at you. Our final segment of this hour. Billy Schmid holding it down there in the great iHeart Metroplex in the greater Milwaukee area. Aaron Nagler coming to you live from New York City. Bill, we went through the whole entire first segment, and we haven't even discussed the kicking situation.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive by us. It's pretty impressive.
I mean, you make a 37-yarder, you probably win that game. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's a
The math would add up. Yeah.
Yarder.
I believe I also saw a stat that no team in football has missed anything less than a 40-yarder so far.
No team in the entire NFL has a kicker that has missed from under 40 yards.
Yeah,
except for the Green Bay Packers.
That's not particularly good. Did you see what Greg Joseph did?
Yeah, 5 of 5.
5 of 5. That
was your boy. That was your horse in our race.
Not good enough to be the kicker of the Green Bay Packers, I was told, though. So interesting enough that you can go
now,
in there.
Come on. You saw what everyone else saw this summer.
I don't know.
Homeboy hitting 80% of his kicks. Don't act like now he's in New York and suddenly he was magic that whole time and Brian Gutekunst just missed it.
He did. Missed it. A true gamer is what Greg Joseph was. But, that's fine.
He's a gamer kicker?
Yeah. Absolute gamer. Game on the line. Who do you want?
Not
Who do you
Greg
want?
Joseph,
I want Greg Joseph lining up for that game winner. Hey, go ask Viking fans. He won a number of games for them in that 2022 Suddenly Charmed season. So
and now
it's interesting. It's
not
interesting
kicking for them anymore. Huh. Curious. Funny how that works.
Because they got Will Reichert, who has a ridiculous rocket on his right leg.
Seems like everybody has a rocket except for whoever's kicking for the Green Bay Packers.
Also seems like these drafted kickers are a lot better than the ones that we pick.
It does seem.
How did that happen?
It does seem to go.
Jake Moody seems pretty good.
He seems really good, actually.
Will Reichert seems pretty good.
You remember Bisaccia? Bisaccia was the one who was like really on board with the idea of drafting Carlson.
Yeah.
And did the work pre-draft on Narveson.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe stop listening to Rich Bisaccia. Maybe the special teams coach is just not so special when it comes to special teams.
What are you paying the highest money than ever to a special teams coordinator for?
Be your assistant head coach. Apparently.
Okay, I like that. Okay,
there's a lot more going on behind the scenes, Billy, that we are not privy to when it comes to Rich Bisaccia.
And we won't know. We can't know. We don't know.
We don't know, and we never will.
We'll never know.
I'm just grousing. Look, Billy, I'm sure Bisaccia is a good coach, and I'm sure he's doing everything he can to get things headed in the right direction. But, man, it is hard to watch the Green Bay Packers trotting out kicker after kicker and miss after miss. I mean, at this point, just go for it. I don't if it's 4th and 8, 4th and 10, just go for it. If you're not inside the 20, just go for it.
Yeah, I'm also trending on the spot now where Nags. I'm almost more surprised when it goes in. Right, and that's a dangerous place to be living in the NFL.
I've been beaten down, Billy. I've been hurt. My guts are spilled out on the floor because, like, when I was down in Brazil and that cat came out to kick, and I was like, I have this unearned confidence that he's going to just make these kicks. I got no thing to go off of, but I feel really good about it. Cool. I feel real positive about it. But now I've been dragged down into the muck where I'm like, he's going to miss every single kick. I have zero confidence that now some are calling him Narv Dog. Corey Banke at Cheesehead TV has decreed he is not allowed to be Narv Dog. He is Narv Puppy until
but the thing is, though, it's probably more appropriate to be Narv Dog because it is in honor of like a former 5th starter for the 2015 Milwaukee Brewers in Grizz Narveson, right? Like, I mean, if he was good, then it would almost be, then it probably wouldn't work as well. Right. I'm just fascinated to see what the next move is here, Nags, because Brian Gutekunst said,
next move.
Well, is the next move give him more time? Is the next move, let's see if a hailstorm works in your international pathway player gets an opportunity, or are you opening this thing up to a competition and you're bringing in more guys because there's a player and a kicker who has performed in the NFL, most notably very well over the last couple of years. However, just yesterday, the Brandon McManus news came down. Interesting how that happens. Maybe right as a team is inquiring to see if they could work him out.
Kicker. Yeah.
Yeah. that he is not going to face league disciplinary action. So I'm interested to see what the next move is here. If by tomorrow you're seeing a Brandon McManus tryout, if Alex Hale is getting a real look, or if it's insert kicker's music here who's running out to Rainichke Field.
I can't really kind of understand what patience means, in the sense that Brian Gutekunst in his press conference prior to the start of the season said he needs to be more patient with his specialists. Well,
not patient enough, he said.
I'm not patient enough with my specialists.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is patience in season the same as patience in the off season? Because it's been a month now. They've played 4 games. Homeboys missed a kick in every single game. Now, I understand the one in Tennessee, there's a penalty, so it didn't technically count. They end up scoring a touchdown. Like, that's great. However, physically, he missed the kick. We all saw it. He's done that every single week, Billy. I mean, how long does patience extend? Especially when you consider the fact that they've lost 2 games where if they make their kicks, they probably win them.
Yeah, and that's the math. That's the math, and that's the one that's not going to add up, especially when he said it not only about the kicking position, kind of about the backup quarterback.
Yes.
This team is too good. I'm too bullish on where they are at, and the talent on this
the
team
upside is undeniable.
Be the issue.
Yes.
So I think it happens sooner rather than later, that at least there's competition. But Nags, I didn't think it was going to be a truly open competition in camp, right? I still thought Anders Carlson was the incumbent and had a solid leg up. Well, he lost the competition in camp. So I don't know where the loyalty goes to, or if there's all that much for Braden Arvison, or maybe behind closed doors, they're looking at everyone's favorite right now, Danny Whelan, saying, hey, Danny, you need to clean up them holds, dude. Like, I mean, we need to get these laces rolling, because right now that's the problem in the operation. Because the issue is Narvison now has a type, right?
Yep.
Wide right.
To the right.
Wide right.
Every time.
Wide right. When you got a type, generally there's something wrong, right? Like, you can't line it up in the operation. Yeah. When you're spraying them all over the place like Carlson was a year ago, saying, okay, we dial this thing in, meet in the middle somewhere. We're gonna hit this thing right down the pipe. Never did that. So that one doesn't add up. This one, once you know the problem and you can identify it and it's clear to everybody, he's going to miss this thing right. If he's going to miss it, then there is a legitimate problem in the operation.
And then the other issue is that left hash mark has become just absolute kryptonite for Packers kickers. Carlson was absolutely atrocious on the left hash mark. That 37-yarder, that miss, left hash mark. Mm-hmm. Like, there's something about it, man. They are not lining it up right. They're doing something. I don't know their approach, but man, again, he trots out there literally on watch party. I'm saying it's on the left hash mark. It's on the left hash mark.
Not going to be good.
And he misses. Yeah. I don't know. You talk about what's the next move. The next move, I'm just shocked. Backsies on Joseph.
Joseph. Let's see if that works.
Jamie, we'll try and invoke that. I don't think the Giants are going to be down for that.
Come on, give him back. Come on.
Try it. Come on. Crazier stuff has happened in the NFL. I'll tell you that. I mean, why not, right?
Now, their kicker was just placed on IR, so it's probably not going to happen. But
it's probably not going to happen. No, I will say, I thought for sure we were going to wake up to news on Monday morning that Narvison had been released.
Oh, you thought it was going to be that quick?
I just thought we're in a new ruthless era for Brian Gutekunst. I mean, how is that acceptable? How is a month of missed kicks acceptable, Billy?
I mean, he making the extra points.
That's where we've gotten. That's where we've sunk to.
That's what he was. He was 129.
That's where we have sunk to.
Make the free one.
Only dude in the NFL who's missed from inside 40, but hey,
hasn't missed an extra point points. Yeah, hasn't missed an extra point yet. Come on. Hey, I was told we were being too negative. All right, I'm just trying to crank up some.
Narv dog should be taken to the Narv pound. That's all I know. We got to get him out of here.
Now you want to talk about a super chat here, Nags? How about this one from Dan? He is done with the kicking situation, or he's got an idea.
What's that, Dan?
Isn't there a kicker whisperer out there like Clements is for the quarterbacks that we can find?
Man, we need a Tom Clements kicking coach. Yeah, I'm down with this idea. Although, don't they have like 100 people on staff already?
Yeah,
this is what's so funny about the modern NFL. It's like we need a specialist upon a specialist upon a specialist. Don't they have like 3 special teams coaches? Like,
yeah, they got plenty. But hey, you know what they do have, Nags, and it's working. New strength and conditioning coach.
There you go.
Have you been hit with anybody saying they need to
so far
fire the strength and conditioning coach because of the injuries?
only one. Once.
Oh, okay.
This past Friday, Jair being listed as questionable, Carrington Valentine is doubtful. I got one response: fire the strength and conditioning staff, which of course they literally just did this past
Just
offseason.
did that. Yeah, just did that.
It's football, people. They get hurt. Part of the gig.
And that Joker is yoked up on the sideline. Aaron Hill, you seen him in the schmedium shirt that they're putting on there?
He is no joke. Don't want to give him any guff.
You do not want to be messing around with Coach Hill.
Sir.
He's gonna mess you up if you're
going to tell you what time it is real quick.
Yeah, you're not going to want to be in there. You're not going to want to be in there. What time it is? It's time for us to take a quick time out and hit into hour number 2, which is going to be our best one. Hard to beat hour number 1, though.
I mean, much like the Packers, we're going to have a furious comeback in the second half.
I like the way you put that. We're a second half team and leading by 2 scores, dangerous for anybody and to be our opponent in hour number 2 of Carry the G Radio with Aaron Nagler, Cheesehead TV. I'm Billy Schmid. You're on the Cheesehead TV YouTube, 97.3 The Game YouTube, all over the place, worldwide on the iHeartRadio app. It's Carry the G Radio.
Making play. Throw up a finger if you feel the same way. Straight putting it down for California.
This is Carry the G, Everything Packers.
Although I will say, shout out to Brett Favre for retweeting Cheesehead TV the other day. The audience has grown from 3 to about 6 or 7.
It's not about what you're capable of. It's about what you're willing to do.
Young Aaron Nagler have wanted a Raven to ride his bike.
100%, absolutely. But I will say, props to Arm because he owns it, right? He's a diehard, and he is like completely in his feelings for why he doesn't want a Raven touching his bike.
Now, please welcome from Cheesehead TV, Aaron Nagler and Bill Schmid.
Carry the G Radio Hour 2 coming at you live from New York City. Bill Schmid holding it down at the iHeart Metroplex over there in Milwaukee. Bill, I am ready to take on these hurting Los Angeles Rams.
I can't wait.
Yes. I want to show no mercy. I think we got Jordan Love back in the fold. He's knocked the rust off.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to hopefully be a little healthier on the back end with the corners on defense.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I just want to see a clean game. I mean, way too many mistakes, way too many shooting ourselves in the foot moments. Let's play a clean game. And again, it's probably going to be very Packers friendly at this stadium.
Should be.
I just want it to be clean.
Yeah, and Nags, I want it to be pressure filled for the LA Rams, right? Like, I mean, you're watching the Bears last week against these Rams. They put a lot of heat on Matthew Stafford. They heated up his kitchen very quickly.
Yeah, they did.
Early and often. You need to do that because if he's trying to find DeMarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell and Colby Parkinson, like you got to be sitting here knowing that you can pin your ears back and force him into a couple of mistakes because he's got inexperienced guys on the outside. Are they going to try to run the football with Kyron Williams? Absolutely so. But this league, a lot of times, and this is why one of our favorite exercises preseason is on a random day in June to win-loss the schedule like we did. I think both of us had them at 2-2, right?
We did.
I think we were right there at 2-2 at this point. It's all about when you see teams. You could not have ever foreseen preseason saying Packers are going to see the Rams week 5 without Nakua and without Kupp going into the week, right? Like without having a crystal ball, you couldn't have known that. This game became so much more winnable. And frankly, it's now a gotta have it game if you start running down the list and wanting to get yourself back into winning this division conversation.
The thing for me is you look at their problems up front. The Rams, you intimated in the first hour, are really banged up along the offensive line, and that has manifested itself not just with the Bears getting after Stafford, but like teams in general this whole season have been able to get after the quarterback because they just haven't been able to block it up. And much like we saw in Tennessee against an offensive line that had major issues coming into that game protecting the quarterback, I think we're going to see maybe not the exact same type of thing we saw down in Tennessee, 8 sacks, completely making Will Levis's life miserable. Maybe it's not quite at that level because Stafford is a vet, guy who's seen it all, done it all, knows where his outlets are, probably has a few more answers when it comes to being under pressure all the time. But I do think this is a game where the pass rush maybe not gets right, but looks a lot more effective because I just think this is a team the Packers should be able to take advantage of up front.
I like this one from Menace on the YouTube chat. You blitz all night. Now, that was not Coach Boone. That was Coach Yost, right?
Yep.
From Remember
Correct.
the Titans?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Correct. And he also said, it's my favorite. That is one of my favorite moments from a football movie standpoint ever of all time. Because I think in that exact same exchange, he says, they don't gain another yard. Like, wouldn't it be great as a coach to just be able to yell that on the sideline and then to manifest it on the field?
And then it happens.
And it just works that way. Like,
and
that'd
you
be
got Sunshine
brilliant.
finally hitting that 3-yard pitch. One of my absolute favorite movies. If not the best movie of all time, it's in the top 5 for me.
It's a phenomenal film, and it does have a bunch of
wow. Oh, and you almost bit and stopped. That's what I love. You were in on it because you're an entertainment guy, right? I consider you a lot.
I'm a classically trained actor, Billy. Yes,
thank you. That's the way that I meant it. So for you to give your theater approval on that is one of my favorite movies. Made me very, very happy.
Film. And it's filled with, I'm saying it, it's life lessons. Attitude reflects leadership, Billy.
No doubt about it. No doubt.
How many places in your life Have you looked and seen like that exact thing on display?
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many different times I've said it in the midst of a game, in the midst of a season. Let me tell you about how much fun you're going to be having this season, right? Let me tell you about how much fun this is going to be. Well, I do think it's going to be a whole lot of fun coming up on Sunday to be able to watch a whole noon slate after watching early in the morning on your Blackstone while you're cooking up some breakfast.
There you go.
Aaron Rodgers beat the brakes off the Vikings in a foreign
London.
land.
Let's go.
You sets up for a beautiful Sunday, and you're gonna be having a whole lot of fun. If at 325, then you're routing these Rams like you definitely could, and I'll say should. And I'm excited to see more of Nags. We're talking a whole lot on the defense, and justifiably so. They were down 28-0 at one point. I'm excited to see the run game back a little bit more in earnest because early.
Let's talk about that, shall we?
Mm-hmm, because quickly, I know a lot of people in the comments, a lot of people on the talk and text line were more run football oriented with why did we not see Malik Willis? I want to see more Josh Jacobs for that run game to spark up here.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about not seeing Malik Willis. He's the backup quarterback, and the starting quarterback was back in the lineup. So I'm not worried about that at all.
Packages, Nags.
I mean, oh, God, can we stop with the Taysom Hill nonsense? It's over, people. The hippies lost. Move on. I can't. I just can't, man. Taysom Hill is going to haunt me until the end of my days.
Of those too?
Every quarter I was getting that during the game. Are you kidding me? I did have someone.
Willis. They should have a run in here.
I put up. I always tell people to come join us on Twitter.
Yes, absolutely.
We're on for a couple hours. You should come join us here at Carry the G.
Hanging out, watching the game.
And Joe Muzi from Twitter.
What up, Joe?
He said, Nags, am I the only one that feels like Jacobs should be jumping off the stat sheet but isn't? What's the deal? I'm glad Joe brought that up, and I'm glad you allowed us to segue to this, Billy, because it was fascinating to watch the, I guess, distribution of snaps between Emmanuel Wilson and your prized free agent acquisition, one of them anyway, in Josh Jacobs. And I understand what Matt was saying as far as some of the issues in pass pro. Certainly looked like he had a couple of miscommunications there with the,
to say nicely,
with the operation up front, and they were playing from way behind, and a lot of their get back on track / 2-minute / up tempo packages feature Emmanuel Wilson. Like that is he. There are things in the playbook and in the game plan specifically for him that they had to get to, probably way more than they wanted to in this game.
Yeah, much
because
more
they were so far behind. Right. All of that said, there is a long-standing coaching phrase, and I know you know it, Billy. Don't think X's and O's. Think Jimmy's and Joe's. I want our best players on the football field. Josh Jacobs, I love Emmanuel Wilson, but Josh Jacobs is exponentially better than Emmanuel Wilson as a football player. So when he's getting the same or even one less carry, I'm mystified. And I don't buy the fact that they were 3 touchdowns down in the second half and they had to throw it. You didn't have to throw it. You had all half. You needed to keep this Vikings defense in particular.
Yeah.
You needed to keep them honest and stay ahead of the sticks and not allow them to get all crazy on third down. But man, Jacobs just nowhere to be found for much of the second half.
Gone for so long. And Nags, maybe it was just me, and I had to go back and see more of it, that I thought maybe I was a little bit more clouded. I thought he ran well, right? Like I thought like
so too.
And in the game, in the moments when he had touches, I thought he made the most of it. And I totally get it. Game gets away from you, time, circumstance,
bring your third down back
thing.
in. Yeah.
But there's got to be either you need to hammer out protections, and you have to get better if you're Josh Jacobs to not allow Emmanuel Wilson to take that many snaps away from you if a game gets away from you, because you're going to have to play games like that where you're much more in shotgun, where you're not able to lean on teams and you're trying to come back. You're not going to be able to follow the same game script of leading every single week. So like, I think that needs to be a priority. And even though yesterday it wasn't necessarily talked about, I wonder if tomorrow, when Matt LaFleur talks to more of the assembled media, if after going back through it again, there's a clearer understanding of, yeah, we know we need to establish him, because I think he's one of those backs, Nags, that I'm not saying he's Derrick Henry, where you need to have 10 to 12 carries to finally get going, but you got to give the guy the rock 10 times to really start leaning on people.
Look at week 2. Like, he took that game over. He's capable
totally
of that. You know, the whole building knows he's getting the football and he's still producing. Down in, down out. He is that type of guy. So I'm a bit mystified at the fact that, yeah, Joe is right. Like, he's not jumping off the stat sheet, but he's not getting the opportunity to do so. In my eyes, he certainly didn't in that game. Now, again, game context, I get all that, but I want my best football players on the football field. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and it seems like there's too many opportunities to get him on the field to not find a way to manufacture more touches,
especially
manufacture ways to get him the ball in shotgun, make teams then believe that you still will pass it if indeed the pass protection was that drastically bad. But like, it seems like that can get cleaned up, and I know that you reward for more positive plays, and guys aren't going to be an issue. You can't teach on game day as much. You got to figure that out, because you got to find ways to have 8 on the field. I see on the other side, right, where clearly Kevin O'Connell was doing anything in his power to get Aaron Jones into the end zone.
Yes, he
get
was
him established last on Sunday. And that was the clear difference. Again, you're up 14-0. A lot easier to get your star running back established in the game. Get him the ball. But in a day where it's clear he's going to try and want to make a sizable impact, it didn't seem like there were enough opportunities to force him into the action on Sunday.
Hey, speaking of Aaron Jones, he got 22 carries on Sunday. 22. I thought he turned to like dust or something if he got that many carries. I thought like he blew away in the ether if he got that many carries. Interesting that Aaron Jones was able to handle a big workload at Lambeau Field.
And 30 years old.
At 30 years old, 22 carries. I mean, that's a good day of work. It's funny how that works. You can actually
good for him.
Hand Aaron Jones the ball.
Well, let's see where he's at in the penultimate game of the year.
That is the big question, right? How does he survive throughout the season? Is he there at the end? Like, I get it. I understand.
You think that team's going to be there at the end? Because I know last week there was a lot of they haven't beaten anybody good, which is interesting because they beat the 49ers.
Right. But without McCaffrey, so that changes everything.
Banged up, yeah.
Right.
So where are you at right now with Minnesota? Because last night we got to see what seems like a home, and I emphasize home, wagon for Detroit.
Oh yeah.
Division is clearly the best in the NFC right now.
Oh yeah. I don't think there's any doubt. And I think the Vikings are legit. Now, it really depends on how they are able to mitigate injuries when and if they occur, because they always do. You know, they've survived without Addison for the first month of the season right up until Sunday in Lambeau. You know, those are the types of things that could possibly derail them. And certainly you saw some of that last year with their defense, right? There was that stretch where they were just unbelievable. No one could really kind of figure them out until they lost a number of guys on that side of the ball. And then it all kind of fell apart on them. And most notably on New Year's Eve against the Packers. But I do think, yes, right now, as they are kind of situated, that they're legit as hell, man. I don't think you can deny that.
And this isn't a Viking show, so we're not going to do a ton of it. But I like to feed chaos into situations. I don't know. Maybe they have to have a conversation. You know, maybe they have a conversation inside those buildings as to like, hey, the Sam Darnold guy, kind of good.
Maybe we pay him.
Maybe we trade JJ McCarthy. You know, maybe we have to pay Sam Darnold. I want them to start rattling these things around because then it takes them away from.
It creates a distraction and yes, there you go.
Just like Armin Sarian threw this great idea out there, and
oh boy,
one of the reasons why I love that young man.
Boy, here we go.
Kevin O'Connell. There's a lot of great opportunities in this league. There's no reason you need to live your entire professional life in Minneapolis. I mean, like, you really want to coach the Minnesota Vikings for 10 years? I think he would really prefer to go coach maybe the Miami Dolphins after Mike McDaniel flames out at the end of this year.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe he would find a lot of fun opportunities taking over say the Dallas Cowboys at the end of the year, right? Like there's great jobs in this league. For you just to sit with the Vikings your entire career, you got to branch out and really challenge yourself there.
So what he's trying to do is get him to pull the Holmgren, right? Like move on, move up, try to get
the hell out of there.
Get a GM job as well. Maybe do a dual role and get out of Minneapolis. Is that the contention here?
Right now, I'm actually going to start pitching it for him and Flores to go, and just a combination deal, right? They work so well together. Right. They really, really like each other, and
they gotta go on the road.
There might be a new situation of opening up in the AFC.
See, here's the problem.
But he's not. Flores ain't going to Miami. I got to find another way. Dallas too close in the NFC. I don't like that one really either.
Here's the issue, Billy, and I appreciate Armin's thinking outside the box here. But the problem, of course, and especially if you're a Packers fan, is that only happens. That only occurs. He only gets those kind of offers to move on and move up if the Vikings are insanely successful. I'm talking getting to a Super Bowl and winning it. He ain't moving until that happens.
No. Just, I mean, what he's doing with Sam Darnold is going to be great enough that somebody's going to have to throw a bunch of money at him and go and try to recreate.
Sir, let's come back from La La Land, because that ain't going to happen. If he were to move on and move up, it's going to be because he won. He did something no one's ever done in Minneapolis. That's bring home a Super Bowl trophy.
You don't think like Dave Tepper is going to look and be like, you know what? I'm going to pay you so much more money than they're paying there, even though you didn't get out of the divisional round. Come here, be with us, take over our entire operation.
Right.
And it's all the Kevin O'Connell show.
I mean, with David Tepper, I'm not putting anything past the, worst owner in the NFL. So he totally could do that, but I don't think he's going to.
How about the rest of the owners in the NFL also looking at these cats in Washington being like, you sons of... You just walk into this league, get a great quarterback, and it's just easy for you guys?
Boom.
That's not fair. They were having way too much fun in that suite, Nags, for this to really be the NFL.
Dude, how good does Daniels look? I mean,
he's amazing. He's amazing, Nags.
Good Lord.
He's fun. He's long, which I think is also a part of this, that for him to be able to throw the ball down the field, his length and size is one of the things that is really, really impressive.
Where they're looking, or how they're looking after that, primetime game against the Bengals, and then going into the Arizona game and doing what they did there, man, he looks legit as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, Caleb Williams finally.
There you go.
Did some stuff.
There you go. They gave the blueprint for how the Packers are going to route the Rams. I also like, and just nice, just coming up. I mean, the Bears have passed on Mahomes. Now Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. They're the Bears. That's what they do.
They're the Bears. They're going to
take a guy instead of the other guy, and then they ruin their guy. That's what they do. They're well on their way already.
They even passed up Bo Nix, who went and beat Aaron Rodgers, something the Bears couldn't do in the last decade.
Oh, man. That was an ugly-ass game.
That is so ugly. That was so
game.
Bad.
Oh, my God. Oh, my Lord. I was watching. It was on while I was watching the Packers game. That was on it would pop up on the red zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I have on my television off camera. Every time they cut to Aaron Rodgers, man, he looked miserable as hell. And it was miserable in New York that day. It was raining outside. It was gross.
Yeah, it seemed
but man, he just looked absolutely miserable, which I got to admit, I found kind of hilarious.
I was going to say, I know you weren't that upset about it.
Nope.
Nope. What is the cave setup for Aaron Nagler on a watch party Sunday?
Yeah. We got the Xbox over here, which I
just
play.
In case you got to dub somebody.
No, I preview the game every morning. Morning, you got to play the game.
You got to play the game.
Yes. And then I turn to the YouTube TV and put the red zone on. And then I've got, my computers here, beverages over here. I got a nice, beautiful window with a huge Cheesehead TV flag.
Okay, there we go.
That the people of Brazil made for us. Literally was hanging at the meetup the day before the game in Sao Paulo.
That's awesome.
It's pretty incredible. And it reminds me that we are here for Packers fans worldwide. Like, we don't just say that, we live it. Like, when the Packers were in London, we were in London. When the Packers were in Brazil, we were in Brazil. There. When they go to Germany or wherever, we'll be there too.
2029, I'm calling. And since you're there for Packers fans worldwide, also stateside, right? Across the continental U.S. I got a message from listener Ryan, said, I want some of that Carry the G cream ale. However, he's in Jacksonville, Florida. There's no current distributor there.
No, sir. No.
What's the
there's no-
closest place? Because my man will drive, it sounds like, to potentially go and find
he'll have to drive to a place outside of Wisconsin. Go drive to Chicago, young man.
So saves himself 2 hours. It's only
Will's
15
Northwoods
hours
has it.
from
A couple
17
places
hours.
in the
There we
Chicago
go.
area have it now. We're starting to slowly branch out of Wisconsin.
And I might send you some contraband. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out exactly how it can work. Right? It's not like
all this talk about carry the G. I might have to crack one open next segment. That might have to happen.
I got to be honest. I'm a little disappointed you're not already. I mean, it is a
you want to
playoff
play.
day.
You want to play a level playing field for the first hour and a half, but that final half hour, we can mix it up a little bit.
All right, because we're almost within 3 hours from first pitch at American Family Field for Brewers and Mets as well. I have the lineup, and we've had some people on the talking text line say, I know this is carry the G, but can I hear a little bit of Nagler's excitement for the Milwaukee Brewers here today? So we can tap in just a little bit of that as well.
Yes, sir.
And keep looking forward to Packers and Rams on the other side. He's Aaron Nagler. I'm Billy Schmid. It's Carry the G Radio, the podcast, the radio show, all across the world on the iHeartRadio app, 97.3 The Game, and YouTube, Cheesehead TV. Hang with us right after this.
Carry the G Radio rolls into the final half hour. Bill Schmid, Aaron Nagler. Brewers in the playoffs. Playoffs. Billy.
Come on now, baby.
I am so excited. Can I say though, is it bad if I admit that I'm just ready to get my heart stomped again? I mean, that's kind of what happens, right? Brewers get into the playoffs and then they can't hit and then we go home.
Well, and I was told to stop bringing it up. The fact that the Brewers have not won a playoff series since 2018 when they went to the NLCS and hosted Game 7. But like Nags, in my lifetime, it's like pre 2008, post 2008, right? So like before Braun and Fielder, after Braun and Fielder, right? And like after 2008, the Brewers have been not just a relevant baseball team, but a really good one for the majority of my prime fandom, living here and growing up with it. That's not how it normally is. And that's not how it generally is for teams and market sizes like this one. The Kansas City Royals, now they've won a World Series in my lifetime. They went to back-to-back. However, they then went 9 straight years with not even sniffing the postseason until they had a miracle run this year to get them in as a wild card team, and they're not even hosting. So like it's something that I'm not taking for granted, even though
and that's the thing.
It's
like I don't want to
knowing how quickly it could be over. It's fleeting moments.
It does happen, right? I remember last year just being so frustrated, not able to connect, not able to get anybody on base, let alone to score a couple runs, just a couple runs. So it is something that's so special, and I'm incredibly excited, especially because it's against the Mets. And all these folks in New York that I get to, I don't know, give the business to if the Brewers do figure out a way to get through it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I'm just so excited. And look, Billy, to your point about, and this is a fascinating study in the kind of power of radio in my life. Because growing up, I used to listen to Bob Uecker every single day in the summer with my dad, who would always be doing something like outside that, fixing up the house, or we were playing catch in the backyard. Literally every day listening to Bob Uecker on the radio, right? So then I grow up, I move away, Brewers are pretty bad. I kind of fell out of love with the Brewers, baseball, etc., all of it. I just was not interested in baseball at all until I discovered the Major League Baseball at-bat app, and suddenly, living in New York City, there is Bob Uecker's voice in my living room in New York. And at that moment, I was back in, like, instantly.
That's awesome.
It just brought back every memory of listening with my dad. We used to always, I'll never forget the run to the World Series where we always turned the TV down. We always played the radio calls with Bob. Like, that was it.
Yep.
So to be back in the thick of it with Uecker still with us and still, that I'll never forget a couple of his home run calls this season.
Yeah.
It's just magic, man.
They're amazing.
So great. And to your point, you can't take it for granted.
No, and it's why you hear all these guys talk about it, and Christian Yelich, whoever has made him as open with a microphone in front of him in the last.
Amazing.
It's awesome, dude. It's amazing because he's been so impactful for this organization that I appreciate hearing from him and letting fans know a lot more of how he feels and what he's thinking of this game. He mentioned he's like, dude, we gotta get it one of these years for Bob. Like, and it has to be when he's here, because he's meant way too much to this organization and to way too many fans for it not to happen. And you say it's the same, I think, for a lot of Brewers fans, right? Like, it was playing catch in the backyard. Now, when Pops was working in a neighborhood that didn't have a whole lot of kids, it was me, Bob, this big Sony boombox that I'd bring with an extension cord out from the house.
Hell yeah.
And then neighbors would ask me to keep it down because I'd be blasting this while playing basketball or throwing the ball into a net. And just that was summer. It's
their soundtrack. It
really was.
Yes,
and there's no relationship that is quite the same. Packers and Packers fans, it is so global, right?
Right.
God bless Brewers fans in Brazil. I don't know there's many of them. I don't think there's a whole lot of people watching the Milwaukee Brewers in Munich, Germany.
Right.
The Packers are a different entity.
Yes.
And being owned and operated in such a small town, it's so different in football. But for the Brewers to be successful over the last 15 years, it's been so predicated off Brewers fans having that relationship wanting to funnel over to American Family Field. They need people to go to games because of how the structure is.
Yep.
So it's pretty awesome to be able to see them be not only competing, but now going head to head against the Mets, who are spending so much more money than anybody else.
That's the thing. Like, you think about the fact that not only they start the season without Devin Williams, and then they get Williams back, and then they lose Yelich, and yet they're still humming along. A team that no one picked to do anything this year. So yeah, I'm excited to say.
I can't wait.
You know what else I'm excited about? You know what else?
Come on now. What else are we excited about? Let me hear it. Let me hear it. Let me hear it.
That's what I'm
Let's go. That's why Dan. Now I don't know that Dan probably should have done this while Aaron Nagler's enjoying his first sip of a beautiful tall boy carry the G cream ale. I illegally transported 12 4-packs from Manitowoc to Virginia. My local bartender gets me one to crack open every game now, and he loves it too.
There you go, Dan.
So he got the carry the G cream ale out,
transported
it, and then tells the bar, "You give me one when the game starts. I'm gonna sit right here. I'm gonna be sitting here on my stool, and you give me one of them carry the G's once this game starts." And by the third quarter, he's rip roaring, waiting for another. But bartender's holding it. I like that. You got to have somebody to hold on to your stash, so you don't just burn right through it all.
That's tough. It's tough, Billy.
That's tough to do.
That's hard. Also, I appreciate you giving Dan an accent. That was nice. That was really
just felt like it was going to have
little regionalism there. I enjoyed that. Like, you should be doing some theater yourself. I like it.
I was asked to join the show choir, which was going to do a couple of renditions, a couple of musicals in high school.
Sure.
I passed on that opportunity.
You passed on that?
But I probably should have taken them up on it, because choir was one of my more favorite subjects to do.
I'm just saying, if this whole radio gig doesn't work out, you should hit the boards. That's some good stuff.
If they pay, I'm interested in it. I'll tell you.
They don't.
Right now.
That's the problem. That is a big part of it.
Oh, that's why you're doing this.
They don't pay. That's why I started Cheesehead TV. That's where trouble comes in paradise. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh man, I love this. I love this. This just shows
everywhere.
This just shows the fun here. John said, "Not a Brewers fan, but they'll be my playoff team because the Cubs suck." Let's go,
John. There you go, John.
Cheering for other Packers fans to enjoy some happiness throughout this. That's what I like. I love having that.
We all band together, especially because the Cubs suck. I mean, that's definitely kind of the underlying fact here that we can all enjoy and revel in. Much like we're going to revel in. And look, I do believe this. I think Packers are going to look right as rain against the Rams. I don't think this is a game where, yes, anything can happen in the NFL, but I think the Packers are clearly the more talented team, probably the better coached team. And Matt LaFleur has owned Sean McVay in their time together in the NFL as head coaches. I mean, that is a fact. Yeah, that is a fact. The win-loss record is undeniable there. And Sean gets there's a ring, right? So understandably so, he will get much more national respect for the coaching job that he has done. However, both have one ran a quarterback straight out of town off a cliff in LA. Right. The other one had to massage the situation. Yes, he did.
But one gets so much credit for what he did with former quarterback. The other one doesn't get any credit for what he did with former quarterback.
He's starting to because everybody thought, oh, you were handed Aaron Rodgers. But now you've seen him not only help develop Jordan Love, but now we've seen this 2-week stretch with Malik Willis. I mean, Matt's going to start getting some flowers, I think.
He deserves a lot more respect for what happened in those MVP years, right? There's really no conversation.
Yes, sir.
And he deserves a lot more as to the push upward. Just like I think Mike McCarthy deserves a lot more.
Rejuvenation, yeah.
The rejuvenation for Brett Favre at the back end.
And then LaFleur did it with Rodgers. And who knows, there's some guy probably toiling away at some Division II college right now who's going to revitalize Love in 10 years. That's just how it works in Green Bay. That's kind of the path.
You guys can't have Coach Buddha from Carroll University. I'm sorry. But listen,
Carroll was the one I tried to find on NCAA the game, but it's not available. I was gonna make
downloadable version.
Oh, there you go. That's what I got to do.
Oh yeah. Next, listen, we've already been to the Peach Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. All right. So
that's a hell of a program you're running there, Coach Schmid.
Carroll University. Did you know that they are now a part of the ACC?
Are they?
Just dumped them right into the ACC. Ran right into a buzzsaw Miami Hurricanes team in the ACC title game. But Cavaliers of Virginia. Tough day. It was a tough day at the office when we went to Charleston.
I'm sorry to hear that. That reminds me, you and
we
I
rolled
still
the
need
Cavaliers,
to.
sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good because
beat the
I'm going to
brakes
roll
off
over
those
you
clowns.
next time we play. I'm ready for you now.
Okay.
See, that first time we played, you won by 1, and you're feeling all good about it. But I had literally never played the game before. I'm ready for you now, buddy.
Yeah, you had never
I got
played.
some stuff for you.
I was hiding away from all the other coworkers for hours on end on the work trip playing. So it makes sense that I had a little bit of an advantage there. The next one,
just a little bit.
The next one, when we broadcast, it'll be a lot more fun.
Oh, it's going to be a good day. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I can't wait, dude. I can't wait for the final run here of Carry the G Radio, because it's difficult when we get to this part of the show. Now, we've had many people on the talking text line. YouTube comments hates the commercials. All right.
Yeah.
We take a time out here. Some people are saying CBS is envious of the length of these commercial breaks. On the other side of this award-winning commercial break, Aaron Nagler, Stone Cold Lock for Packers and Rams. How about that?
Ooh, let's go.
Prediction time, which is always everyone's favorite one's 5 days away from the game. We don't know who's potentially going to.
We don't even know who's going to be available.
We're
here throwing down Stone Cold Locks. Absolutely.
And I got a pretty good guess as to where this where the winner is going to be on that side. On the other side, we have it. We wrap up Carry the G Radio. Next, Aaron Nagler, Billy Schmid. You got the game. You got Cheesehead TV all across the world on the iHeartRadio.
the G Radio, heading into the final segment. Another 2 hours has flown by, Billy, and I'm really glad you played that song because I'd like to address the world here.
Oh, okay, here we go.
That is a Green Bay Packers touchdown song.
Yeah,
it's not a Cincinnati Bengals touchdown song. By the way, when did shame just stop existing? Like, they played this song after a field goal the other night.
Yeah, they do that. It was difficult to pick up when I went to Cincinnati for the Packers Bengals game. When you hear the song, instantly trained, good things happen. No, wait, they're playing it. We didn't score. They scored. That was a little bit of a mind. So you had to deal with that one. But yeah, they play it after like any really good plays.
The jungle jump instead of the Lambeau leap. Get your own stuff, Cincinnati.
Well, but they're like, I mean, what if there isn't a different second class, city in the own state? That's gotta be, we just take whatever's good, right? I mean, Cleveland is always going to be talked about more than Cincinnati. So they probably got that little fighting over here kind of deal.
It's like the Vikings having to steal their Skol chant from the Iceland soccer team. It's like, oh, well, that seems to work. We'll use that. Like, when you have no imagination, no creativity, no actual soul to draw from, then you just, take other people's stuff.
And I got to be honest, I hate it, but it is catchy.
What's that?
That damn Skol chant. Like once you hear it and you're saying like, could you, it's okay. It's like like that stupid victory celebration song down in Chicago for that baseball team. It instantly gets stuck in your head and you're like, I cannot stand
the worst
that this is going to be in my head for the next like 10 minutes.
Yeah, the worst.
Luckily, I will say this, and I was very, very happy about the comeback in the second half for a lot of different reasons. Now, some people were very excited because, there's these things called teasers, Nags. So it's like a 6-point difference from what the spread usually is. So that would have had the Packers plus 3.5. But there's also being able to silence a lot of those Skol chants.
A lot of those Skol chants went the way of the dodo in the second half. Yeah.
They were not very vast in the second half. And that's good because where the score was, it seemed like it was going to be a tidal wave of them in the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, definitely needed to squelch that, and the Packers did. And I think they're going to put the hurt on the Rams as well. And I don't think it's going to be an easy game. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, the Packers are going to roll, because I don't see that happening. But I do see, again, Jordan Love with a game under his belt, a much crisper operation in the passing game. And look, I think they're going to get Josh Jacobs going. I don't doubt for a moment on the flip side, they're going to be able to create a little bit more havoc for the quarterback, their passing game. I mean, Stafford's coming off a game where he didn't throw a touchdown, threw a pick. I think his rating was like in the 70s. I mean, Chicago made his life hell. And I don't think it's going to be exactly that from the Packers. Because, I hate to say it, but I think the Bears have a really, really good defense. And the Packers aren't there yet. But they've got the talent, and they've got the ability to make Stafford's life hell. And I think they're going to see some more of that. And this is a game where the Packers should win, without question.
Yeah, and that's the that's where you start getting into, Nags. And I don't think it's a bad deal to have the expectations of a good team goes and beats a wounded animal, right?
Exactly. No, but this is exactly that, right? If you are the team that we all think you are, as far as we understand, there are mitigating circumstances. Brazil's a tough beat,
no doubt.
And they lost, and they barely lost that game. They barely lost the game to the Vikings, who were undefeated, with their quarterback just coming back from injury, going down a corner, their star corner 2 days before the game. Like, there are context here. There's situational stuff, but they're still a good football team. They should beat this team. This is a game. If they are the team we think they are, this is a team that they should handle.
And also, once you start looking into and forecasting down the road, I mean, I know that we don't want to go too far down the road, but schedule is going to get tougher, right? Like you need to get the wins when you have a hampered team on the other side, and 100%. Without the two best weapons on the outside, maybe in that division, right? Like DK Metcalf, I'm never given enough credit to, because I'm always, showing up on Monday Night Football of that guy's still a freak of nature. But they have two of the best outside weapons in that division. They rely upon them so much on that in that offense that without those guys, you need to go and win the football game. And I do think Stafford is pressured early and often, and I think that needs to be, that's the part of the chicken soup of the game You get more pressure on him. That's what makes you feel real good in the neighborhood going into the next few weeks.
It's going to be good for the soul, no doubt about it. Billy, another good run this week. Can't wait to chuck it up for Jesus next week. This is just great, man. Like,
it's awesome.
Get to chat football, Brewers, beer.
It's kind of hilarious how in mid-season form we are with only into week 5.
Yeah, man.
I mean, we're in playoff mode with some of these shows. That was a dynamic 2 hours right there, Nags.
I don't know about dynamic, but it was good. And let me tell you, this carry the G Cream Ale,
pretty damn good, huh?
Goes down smooth, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just saying that because we make it, but man, it is really, really good.
Seems like a good victory celebration beer here today, because not only are we looking forward to a victory on Sunday, 2 big Brewers wins, and like you mentioned, next week we can talk Brewers and Packers again here and carry the G all over the place.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
that's pretty great.
That was good, huh? That was a pretty great tip right there.
I like that. Now we're talking. Now we're cooking with gas. Billy,
we're always cooking with it.
Awesome run today. Thanks so much. Talk to you next week. It's going to be a good time. Bill Schmid, Aaron Nagler, Carry the G Radio. Go Brewers. Talk to you next week.